Artist to artist. Actually started already to speak about it's artist to artist. We're speaking with Anya Layfield, our guest today, coach, mentor of, I'd say, intelligence of the people. Yourself saying about the project, I think we could repeat this one. Could you please tell us about it?
Sure.
Who you are and why we're listening to you.
Sure. So the idea of what I've been doing for the past 5 years is basically educate people around the qualities of their mind, around the qualities of their experience, and help them understand that their experience and the quality of their life is not dependent on any circumstances. And I think that's an interesting notion, because especially now, given the conditions that we're all in, it's pretty easy to blame the way we feel on the virus, the lack of seeing friends, the limit in resources that we're having, and so on and so forth. So there are loads of things that could look like they get in the way. And so the idea is to basically help people kind of separate this connection. And so that's what I've been doing mostly as my work for the past few years. And during the quarantine, what I've been doing as well is me and my friend Elena, we have created this group. We've called it Club Live Lighter. Live Lighter is a brand name under which I've been working. And the idea of the club is get people together under one platform, and that's very much a space for people to educate themselves, to connect, sometimes to have fun, to discuss ideas. And so every week we would be bringing a speaker that would talk to a certain point, to a certain topic. So we would be talking about mind sometimes we would be talking about something a little more esoteric. We would do breath work. Sometimes we would bring an actor who could teach us some acting skills to use in a daily life. So we're kind of bringing interesting people from our own contact list, or those people that we have in our life, and mix it all together in this group. So that's the idea. Yes, does it make sense?
Yeah, it does. Creating a group of people that can vibe and grow together. This is very important, because we actually influence each other a lot, and in the same time we can compare lives of each other. You said this interesting thing that I'm still stuck about, that not depending on quality of life we have, we still can be happy. Did I understand it right?
Yes. And what I'm saying is that you're right. The quality and again, like, what is quality like?
I'm sorry. If I'm poor African kid, I still can be. Actually, seeing on examples of Asian cultures, they are happy with having nothing. Is this what we mean?
Very much. And like, I don't want to concentrate it on, how well you're doing financially, but we always have something that in our mind would be getting in the way of us being happy. And I think we all have our own flavor. We all have some things in our mind that look to us as an obstacle, or look like something that we should fix. Or it looks like, something from the past that we feel like, oh, it affected me, and so, I am this way. So, some people decided back in their youth days that they're shy. Someone told them, oh, or you're a shy girl. And then they decide that they're shy. And then that would affect
it's stuck.
Yes. And that would affect the way they show up in life, and that would affect, the profession they choose, and like it would affect pretty much everything. So and so the idea is to basically show everyone that are interested, this fact that we live in a thought created reality. So everything we experience, everything that we see can only be created within ourselves. And so the reality that is in front of us is 100% the product of our own thinking. And what people tend to think is that the reality that is outside of us or in front of us is kind of driven by circumstances. And the things that we feel is basically our normal reaction to the outside reality. So we kind of see it, a lot of the time we kind of see it outside in as opposed to inside out. And this is the distinction that, I'm devoted to show to people, that our feelings and our experience is completely independent of what's happening around us. So you and I could be sitting in the same room, and you could be having an amazing experience and feeling happy and connected and filled with really beautiful emotions, and enjoy the room, enjoy the art, and there could be people around and you could like really get in the conversation and be interested in that. And I could be having a horrible experience and feeling like I don't want to be here, I don't want to be in this room, I feel shy, or like I feel unnerved. Or
this happened to me once. I was in this lost jungle in Indonesia, absolutely nowhere, waiting train that was late for 6 hours on the bench in city, I don't know. And it happened that two other Russian people approached me, girl and guy, and they sit next to me. You don't want to know what happened to us. I'm like, of course I want to know, because I just spent like amazing 5 days in this city, I have to say. It's not a problem that I'm sitting there on the station. I'm having amazing time. This rain and situation is just, I'm feeling fucking fantastic.
Yes.
And they're telling that they're feeling fucking horrible, and horrible about experience there. That they couldn't find the food they liked. They didn't like the conditions of the hotels. I actually was already happy with what I could find there because I didn't have expectations. Do you think this is, I'm bringing it to the question actually back, do you think this is connected to the expectations? Because you're sitting at the same party. One is sad, one is happy. Could it be because you wanted something from this evening and you didn't get?
That could be the factor as well. But if you look at it a little closer, even like your expectation is very much, it's a thought. So you could have any kind of thinking, and yes, that could be the reason. But like if you kind of trace it back a little further, what you see is that you were in a certain state of mind. So you were, I'm open, I'm accepting whatever's happening. I would imagine your mind was pretty free and clear. So exactly like you were not hanging on the way it should be looking, like you had an open space to experience things around you. Yes. And in case with those people that you've met, or anyone else really, yes, you could be having expectations, which kind of narrows your experience. But it could be anything. And like if we want to call it something, what we talk about is very much your state of mind. So state of mind is basically, a number of factors, or let's say an amount of thought that you are experiencing at the time of having an experience. So it's, let's talk about its qualities, because it's kind of hard for me to define it right now. So I'll go the other way. Your experience, or like the quality of your experience, is very much defined by how free your mind is. Yes. And how free your mind is dependent on, and kind of your ability to see that. Because what's interesting about state of mind is that it's very much invisible. So sometimes when I'm talking to a friend and, you know, I could see that they're a little tense, I would be, you know, I'd ask them, how are you doing? And they'll be, I'm fine. And, you know, like, you can see that they're not fine, but they don't really see that they're not fine. So that's how tricky the mind is, you know, like, wherever state of mind you're in, it always looks, you know, there's an explanation to it, and it always looks completely true, and it looks like the experience. You know, you feel like you have all the reasons to justify it because it really feels shit, and you know, and your feelings are telling you that, you know, there's something wrong with this food that I'm having, or there's something wrong with this place that I'm in. Mm-hmm. And this is the tricky part that is so hard for people to get, because our thoughts are connected to our feelings. So whatever you think, you feel. So if you have a worried thought that, oh, I don't know, like, you know, your friend are gonna catch coronavirus, and, you know, you believe in it and you worry about it, you're gonna experience that. And so this is being able to separate yourself from it, because every thought is, you know, every thought we have is linked to our sensory system. So, you know, we kind of feel everything we're thinking. And the idea to understand that your feelings are not telling you about, like, your feelings are not giving you the information about, you know, the reality around you. Your feelings are actually telling you how clear your state of mind is, or like how free your mind is, or on the opposite side, how busy or, you know, conditional your thinking is. So that's very much the, you know, the idea of what I teach in a nutshell.
Like,
you're thinking, tell me, what are the questions?
I still would like to connect it to this. We were speaking about kind of balance and how you feel, if your mind is crowded or if your mind is free. Mm-hmm. Is it also connected to the intelligence? Let me please quote you. You've been writing on one of your platforms, I believe it was LinkedIn, quote, to make a brilliant career or learn a new language, this needs a long and hard work. In addition, you need to have some outstanding intellectual abilities. So, to be happy, is it important to have intellectual abilities or to be balanced?
I don't think you need any intellect to be happy. Like, I don't think it's connected to intellect at all. And what I would say that with my clients, what I experience a lot is that people that are smarter than, you know, than the average bear, you know, they're actually less happier. Why? Because unfortunately, our intellectual mind has this ability to create concepts and develop them, and, you know, kind of bring them to the point where those concepts kind of go against us. But because of our consciousness, because of the way our consciousness works, anything that, as I said before, anything that you think, you feel. So any brilliant concept that you would develop would totally have the power to kind of go against you and, you know, feel as if it's a real thing, first of all. And second of all, it would have, you know, like, it would be kind of problematic to separate from it, because it would look so real. And that's what I see a lot with people who are, you know, brilliant mathematicians. You know, they're really good at, you know, at theorizing things. people who had their PhDs and, loads of degrees, what they have, what they have a lot of is a theoretical, knowledge that is very, it's powered by history, it's powered by facts, it's powered by, intelligence, and it's very much powered by ego as well. And so
it's a limitation.
What's that?
It's like a limit.
It's a limitation, but they don't see it as a limitation because a lot of the time that's all they have to, they have to hang on to. So their intellect is valuable to them, and they see it as an asset. And then someone like me would come in and say, listen, give up your intellect. Like, if you want to be happy, you want to stop thinking. And all they're used to day by day, every day, 24/7, is analyze and actively think. So it's kind of, for people who consider themselves, I mean, well, I'm sure we'll consider ourselves more or less smart or intelligent, but those people who put a lot of time in the analytical work, for them, what we talk about right now is a lot of the time very challenging, because what I would basically ask them to do is to give up their active analytical thinking. So
I think it makes sense. It's much harder to turn off your thinking and limitation. This is actually intellect you need sometimes to turn off yourself, and not everyone can do it.
Not everyone can do it. Yeah.
So it's like, here comes meditation, breathing, right? I mean, I tried it, it works, but it just sounds so boring right now when everyone speaks only about yoga and breathing, and it's everywhere. How can you confront all of this competition you're having right now?
I don't feel like I really need to be honest, because I think, for every coach there is a client, but also with meditations and the whole movement of mindfulness, it's great, and I think it's an amazing step for humanity to slow down and get connected with their feelings, and maybe shut down the chatter, the internal gibber. But it's very much of a, it's very much of a tool. It's something that you have to do consciously on a, I don't know, daily basis. It's something you have to put the time off in your schedule and kind of devote yourself into. And I personally, I'm okay with that. But the stuff that I have been learning for the past few years is basically teaching me to not have to do that, if that makes sense. So
it does.
Yeah, you don't, I don't need to meditate to clear my head, or I don't need to stop my thinking so that it doesn't affect me. I could continue having my thinking and not have a problem with being in a shitty mood. So I think this is where the difference is. I know we all go up and down, it's inevitable for everyone. We're never going to stop, going from a really busy mind, or more busy mind, to less busy mind. And I think what all of us experience from time to time is that we don't like being uncomfortable. It's a problem for us. And so we look for all kinds of things to make sure we don't feel uncomfortable. And I am really doing my best to get okay with being uncomfortable, because you hit the point of feeling that, and then you wait it out, and then it goes away. And once you understand the nature of your thinking, that, once you understand that you don't have to get involved in trying to fix yourself, it kind of fixes itself without your participation, if that makes sense.
It does. I believe our listeners will actually enjoy, because you're also speaking.
Yeah, I would also say, like, in no way I want to be seen or heard as the person that is against meditation or yoga. Like, I'm super, super up for it. And sometimes I do that too. What I'm saying is that, like, there are other things. And, I think we'll all kind of find our psychological freedom through different instruments. Silly old disclaimer.
I believe we can believe you. Masters you work with and people you bring, you actually tried on yourself.
Yeah, definitely.
But can you reply this one quite briefly, just to understand how to understand who is a good master and who is a bad master for retreat?
I think you feel that. Like, I think, it's like with photographers. How can you understand if you're a good photographer or not a good photographer? Of course, like, you will look at the pictures and you'd be like, oh, do I like their pictures? But also, for instance, with you, when we had our shoot in August, it took us 1 hour to do loads of different looks, loads of different things, because, like, you could see that there's a flow, it's easy, they make you feel comfortable, there's a connection. So I think it's very much about, how did it make you feel? Did they create a space for you that is comfortable and enriching? Did you feel inspired afterwards? And if you don't have these things, and if you, like, on the opposite, you feel like, oh, like, I left the session feeling a little funny, which is kind of independent, because, we were talking about, like, your state of mind is independent of anything. But, like, if consecutively you are having a session with someone and you leave the session feeling down, that means that practitioner is probably taking you, the wrong direction. So if you're feeling uncomfortable, if you don't feel like, you've learned new things, or, you got inspired, then it's probably not your person, or, like, it's not your master. And also, another interesting thing, what I find fascinating, is the fact that, because there's only one truth, like, there's one ultimate truth, and then there are so many different modalities, like there's shamanism, there's I don't know, there's Tara, there's traditional psychological techniques, whatever. But they all point to one truth that is somehow emerging in one way or another, or emerges in the form of an insight in the session, when you're having a session. But they all point to the same fact. So I find it that with the practitioners that are really strong, they would use some kind of instrument, but if they're like, if this is a good practitioner, they're pointing to the same thing. Mm-hmm. And this is how I would find, kind of making that distinction between a powerful master, or between a powerful practitioner and someone who's just in the beginning of their way and maybe not as clear as they want to be. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I mean, it also gives me a new point, a little bit, how to look at masters, practitioners.
Yeah.
I believe it's not an easy thing, actually, to organize retreats and groups of people and choose for designed group of people, like exactly the person that can give it to everyone and organize everyone. So how did you come to this idea? How is it that you're now doing retreats, or you're so much into brain?
Brain.
How did it start? Where did you get it? I believe I know something that you studied in London. Was it something about finances? No.
Yeah, it's an interesting story because, like, it's interesting. I feel like everything is part of the puzzle. Like everything, like the smallest detail is part of the puzzle, and it's very interesting because, like, my first degree was in languages and literature, and it was great. And like when I've just finished that degree, I was like, oh my god, I'm so useless. I have no fucking idea what I'm gonna do with my degree. But it was great because, you know, it kind of developed my love for different cultures and, you know, people who think differently. And, you know, it developed my love for traveling as well, because I had this opportunity to travel to different countries and, you know, study abroad. And then, yes, I came to London, and I was supposed to be studying conference interpreting because I worked as interpreter for a couple of years. And I nearly started the degree. Like, you know, I've already submitted my documents, and they've accepted me. But like the day the studies started, you know, I've received an email from them saying, oh, we're so sorry, you no longer can study with us because, you know, our licenses has been called off, and you need to find a different educational institution. And so because it was kind of, you know, in the middle of September, all unis already, you know, had their students, and I was kind of late. Like, I've just chosen something I could probably have some interest in, and that was a business degree. But you know, it wasn't MBA, it wasn't finances, it was like a general, I think it was called like international business management. And so we kind of studied, you know, a bit of everything. And as I was graduating, I realized that I have no interest in businesses or having my own business or working for a corporation. And so I was kind of back to the drawing board and, you know, the ultimate search for what is it that I'm going to do in life. And so back then I was dating my husband. He was basically, we were dating for like 6 months or something like that. And he has met this guy who basically, you know, promised him to take him into a different world mentally. And James was struggling a lot back then with his business, because like he had a really promising business, but you know, there were loads of directions that he could go.
So you both strugglers met, and you decided to take this, to change your life together.
Yeah. So he was having an interesting time in his business that, you know, like he actually needed some help to get clear on things. And I was dating James back then, and he invited me to come to a session. And so he was having a session with this guy, and, you know, they were kind of talking about their own thing, but I got very, very impacted in a session, to the point where I felt like, oh my God, what is this? Like, he didn't give me any drugs. Like, I've been sitting in this room all the way through. I don't even know what they were talking about. But I basically hit this experience of extreme beauty and clarity and feeling childlike, where everything feels so crisp and true and beautiful and amazing. And I was like, what just happened? Like, how did this guy do it? I want to find out how he does it, and I want to do the same thing. so this is how I started my journey. I became a student of this guy. His name is Dr. Aaron Turner. I highly recommend Googling him. He's the founder of the company called One Thought. So they work with businesses.
Can you please repeat his name?
Yes, Dr. Aaron Turner.
Aaron Turner, where is he?
He's based here. He's here in London.
London, thank you.
Yes.
It will be interesting more for the people that will listen podcast than to the ones that are watching.
Yes.
I will insert the image,
Yes, you should. And he's got loads of videos, and he's actually just released a beautiful course that is a wonderful introduction to what we've been talking about. Actually, not even an introduction. It's kind of an in-depth course that would allow people to gain a better understanding of their mind.
So this was the turn to all this spiritual life and changing yourself and thinking differently and being happy.
Yes. This is how I've started, and I've been going at it ever since. Yeah.
This is so great.
Yes.
Wow. This is nice, even romantic background story.
Yeah. And what I find interesting is, because my husband and I did it at the same time, like we kind of got on the same journey, and it's great. Like when you're in a relationship, I feel like if one person in the couple knows about this stuff and the second person doesn't, it's kind of like the relationship probably would go nowhere unless the other person is kind of already naturally aware and self-learner. And normally we choose people that that are like that. But I realized, if James and I didn't know about this stuff, we would have no chance of survival. Like, this is how different we were. So different. And so, understanding mine basically really allowed us to kind of soften the corners and get okay with each other, and have no problem with one of us being a dick, because we don't take it personally. And I mean, the list of good things about understanding your thinking is it's just endless. It's endless, and you keep learning and you keep learning and you keep learning, and it's great. Highly recommended.
Yeah, I believe not only me, but everyone who might listen to us is already in the mood to call and change their lives. But after doctor, you took this in your hands. So now you're also guiding people to their happiness. How do you?
Yeah. So
I know you're also working. Sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I know you're also. Thank you. Working with artists. I believe you work with the people performing in dance. And can you tell more about people and art and how it influences actually? Because I believe it's impossible to create anything until you know your true self and to be happy about what you create. It's about profits, it's about paintings, it's about business. Until you reach this enlightenment you've met once, it's impossible. So how could it help? With whom do you work? Whom you help?
Well, it's such a broad, I think my answer is going to be really broad, and I kind of I'm going to go all around the place. So if you want me to narrow things, please tell me. Okay. So I think I consider myself an artist, but I think my art is around kind of combining different disciplines and putting things that sometimes they would look uncombinable, or sometimes they're actually really combinable, but it's not necessarily visible for others. So my art is very much about bringing people together, but also showing those artists that that are incredibly talented, kind of showing their talent to a larger audience, or helping them see their own potential. Because
the self-esteem, like working on it.
It's not necessarily the self-esteem, but it's more about seeing the opportunities, and allowing themselves to be seen. So like I work with this guy from Florida who is an amazing dancer, and he has a really interesting story. Like he went through a lot of struggle in life, and he didn't have the financial opportunity to invest in his art. Once you don't have the basic needs met, it's very hard to create art. So like if you've got nothing to eat, it's hard to dance, if you know what I mean. Yeah. And so we have this interesting story with him. Like I can't call myself a manager, but I've been trying to help him in any way possible to kind of get a little more established and get a little more secure. And I've been working with some other artists that I know on kind of showcasing his story. So we've been filming this little documentary about him, which is still not finished.
Is it like more side job production, or it's
yes yeah it's kind of still in the process, and like I felt like we're nearly done with it because we had a really cool production company from Moscow helping us to complete the work, but then the whole quarantine thing happened. And
how is called the production?
I don't know what they're called actually. I think Max, our common friend Max Kleonov, like he has this connection, so I don't remember what they're called. But yeah,
no advertisement for free in our podcast.
Yes. But yeah, my story with him is that I've been trying to help him, and I would be helping him get gigs, and sometimes he would like send me things that are happening online, and I would make sure that I would quickly send his portfolio over, and I would take over the whole organizational process. But that's been our story with him, and it's still happening. Like he's not dancing for Beyonce yet, and maybe if I had a little more space and time to help him, maybe he would get there. But I also feel like he's in a different space head-wise in terms of appreciating himself and being certain about his talent. So I really feel like it's the matter of time until he hits it, for sure. Like yesterday, Missy Elliott reposted a video with him.
Oh, really?
Which I think is pretty amazing. And he's so talented.
On Instagram, he reposted it.
On Instagram, yeah.
Cool.
Which is great. Yeah. And yeah, so that's my story with him. But I also, I'm connected with a lot of people who are photographers, who are in fashion, who are filmmakers, actors, and I really like this crowd because of this same thing that we've been talking about. Like these are people who can who like to think freely, like they have this ability to create and get lost in the creative process and not worry about the outcome. They kind of have a certain freedom about themselves that is very sexy and attractive.
Yeah, it's true. Sexy.
Yeah.
We're all sexy.
Yeah.
It's nice to bring all these intelligent, free, sexy people together.
Yeah. Free sexy people.
Wow.
Yeah.
What would you say for concluding our beautiful conversation? What is happiness for you?
What would I say to conclude? I don't know. Like I think it was a really good conversation in terms of bringing things out and actually sort of summarizing the stuff that I've been doing, and it was great for myself because like, oh, actually I've been it's been great. Like I haven't been
it's a long journey I did.
yeah. So thank you so much. I think it's been brilliant. kind of be okay with wherever they are. Like what I see a lot is that, we kind of, we have this ideas about ourselves in terms of where we should be and how well we should be doing and how quickly we should be getting to places. And, how, we kind of have ideas about the way things should be happening for ourselves.
Limits.
Yeah. Or like conditions and, so I would say get off yourself and just enjoy where you are in the journey and, just be okay with whatever's happening. Everything's happening for exact reason. You're in the perfect place. You're perfect yourself. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing you should be fixing. Just like enjoy yourself. We're all young and beautiful and sexy and, we've got, the world is our oyster. So that would be my final message.
Be sure you can build your own puzzle, like Anya Layfield.
Definitely. Yeah.
Thank you so much.